we've been using the internet for a very, very long time. What we're going to look through tonight is, honestly, this is how my mom and dad treated us at home. When we moved to Connecticut, we had a computer was in the basement. It was the only spot that it could plug in. It was the only spot that had internet access was weirdly in the basement. Well, my parents had a rule because it was so far down in the basement. Mom or dad had to be with you when you got on the internet. Now, this was when AOL Instant Messenger first got invented. Anybody remember that? Like the original social media. Okay, this was back when AOL Instant Messenger, if you wanted more than one conversation, you had to have separate boxes open with people. Well, my dad's a fast typist. I started learning how to type very young. I type about 80, 90 words a minute with almost no errors. I type very, very quickly. Well, my mom reads real slow. She didn't do well in school. She'll tell you that. So you got fast typist, 8 or 9 conversations going on with the people I had just gotten out of school with, mind you, like 10 minutes before, and she's trying to read over my shoulder. If you know my mom, you know that was an experience. If YouTube existed, we would have been wealthy, okay? Timothy, and she had her glasses on, just trying to, she doesn't need glasses, but she has them on for some reason, and she instilled an idea in us that somebody's always watching over your shoulder. And kind of stuck that in my head that mom's watching. My mom's 5 foot tall, has a brain tumor and can't think straight. She still scares the garbage out of me. Because it feels like mom's always watching over my shoulder. That's probably one of the best things mom ever did for Sarah and Anna and I. Thankfully, none of us have ever screwed up. By God's grace, that'll stay that way. But this stuff right here, all it is, moms and dads watching over shoulder. By the way, teenagers, this is geared towards you. I'm not going to be mean. I love you. Well, some of you. Some of you I don't know or care about at all, okay? Because I don't know you. This is geared towards you because you're the ones using this more than about anybody else because you actually know how all this stuff works. Moms and dads, the fact that your kids know more about this than you do, that's sad. My almost 3-year-old, Molly turns 3 in what, 2 weeks? Is it about 2 weeks? She's got a little Kindle. My mom's got the same thing. My mom came over our house, couldn't figure out how to get on the Wi-Fi. Molly was 2 and figured out how to connect it to the Wi-Fi. She figured out the password. It's 8 characters long, has capital letters, lowercase letters, and numbers, and Molly knows my password. Molly can't spell Molly's name. Molly thinks YouTube is called MyTube. She gets on MyTube because somehow she owns all of YouTube. It is her tube, apparently. She knows how. She's 2. Mom and Dad, if you're outsmarted by my 2-year-old, you got a problem. Not being mean, you got a problem. You can't figure it out? Find a geek. There are several in this church. I can name you them. One of them's related to me. He's a bish. Okay? Or find a teenager that might know more than you. I guarantee all of them do. Or a 4-year-old, apparently. Okay? A couple things here. Turn to Ephesians chapter 6. Ephesians chapter 6. I have to be very honest. I've got some Bible. This is predominantly practical. Occasionally, that's a good idea. Okay? I know your pastor. I know he gives you good Bible messages, but every once in a while, somebody coming in to teach something that's just straight up practical is a good, solid plan. Okay? And that's what this is. And here's what I want you to do. Stick a bookmark in Ephesians chapter 6 and close your Bible. When I get to Ephesians chapter 6, we're almost done. Okay? That way, if I never get there, you can shoot me, all right? Romans chapter 8, verses 5 and 6 say, "For they that are after the flesh do mind the things of the flesh, but they that are after the Spirit, the things of the Spirit. For to be carnally minded is death, but to be spiritually minded is life and peace." That's kind of the gist of where we're going with this tonight, is if you and I are living literally in the flesh, we're going to do what the flesh wants. We're going to look at what the flesh wants. We're going to listen to it. And nobody's going to stop that. This is not, there's a set of how-tos, some rules, some guidelines to possibly follow here as teenagers and adults, parents, kids. But if you're going to do something wrong, you're going to do it whether somebody pays attention or is looking over your shoulder or not. So it's a heart thing. Where's your heart at with this? Do you actually want to do what's right? Do you want to be right with God? Because if that answer is no, then turn me off now because you're not going to listen. Because you're going to do exactly what you want no matter what I say. Amen. Just thought I'd throw that out there. Okay, little disclaimer. Proverbs 14:12 says, "There is a way which seemeth right unto a man, but the end thereof are the ways of death." Right. You do exactly what you want to do. It doesn't usually end well. Look at the news. When you're done with church tonight, get on whatever your favorite news app is. If you're one of those unfortunate people that uses an iPhone, get on Apple News. If you're one of those sheeple that likes to pay dead Steve Jobs copious amounts of money for a product that my children can use, get on your iPhone. I don't like Apple, okay? Get over it. It's a joke. Do you know how to laugh? Okay, do me a favor. Okay, do me a favor. I'm going to do this. Oh, hi, Mrs. Schoen. How are you? Everybody, put your hands up. Wave them around. You have just put your hands up in the air and waved them around like you just don't care. Okay, put them down. If you don't pay attention, we're going to do weird junk like this all night long. Okay? I've been a teacher for 10 years. I know how to keep your attention, and it's going to get super awkward in about 8 minutes, okay? About 28 years ago, actually next month, the internet as we know it was officially invented by a guy named Tim Berners-Lee. He came up with the very first www web address, and the internet since has exploded. In fact, he was interviewed last week by a whole bunch of different media outlets, and he said he's actually appalled with where the internet has gone. Because of the amount of fake news, bullying, all kinds of issues with the internet, he never foresaw any of that. He thought it would just be a cool way to connect people across the world, which it truly has become, but it's also turned into this massive mess. You can get on just about anything you want in a very, very short amount of time. So here's just my simple guidelines on a couple ways to protect not only ourselves, but also our kids, moms and dads. Number one in here is we need to know. We need to know. K-N-O-W. No, we need to know. Okay? We need to know. There's a couple things we need to know here. Let me give you a couple statistics. I've got a lot of those. Again, a lot of them are backed up on that separate paper there, not necessarily in the correct order. We need to know. Do you know about 75% of all teenagers between 13 and 17 use or own a smartphone every day? 75%. That's not just in America. That's globally. That's a huge number of people in a very young age having access to literally the entirety of the internet. Did you know I have the Samsung Galaxy S7 Edge. Good phone. Do you know this is about 25,000 times more powerful than the lunar module that landed on the moon? They landed on the moon. Which, by the way, why can't we get back to the moon? If my phone is more powerful than that, I could literally guide that thing to the moon with an app and a GoPro. And they can't get, whatever. Okay, moving on. All right, we need to know. Over 85% of all college-age people own a smartphone. 93%, this one kind of blows my mind, 93% of all kids between 5 and 15 use the internet every day for at least an hour. 93%. Now, I'm not against the internet. I use the internet all the time. My 3 oldest girls all have a Kindle Fire tablet, and they actually have a web browser on there. It's protected. It's locked down. And unfortunately, my 3-year-old knows how to get out of it. The other 2 somehow haven't figured that out, but the littlest one has. She's scary. She's going to be like girl Hitler, I swear. If we don't figure out how to control her, she's going to take over the world, and she's going to end up like Aunt Diane. It's just going to be awful. So... All right. Underneath this, we need to know who they are connected to online. We need to know who they are connected to online. Again, this is geared towards parents of teenagers. If you don't have teenagers or you used to have teenagers, this is still good for you and I. I practice most of what I preach here. Okay? I legitimately, this is stuff that I follow on a regular basis. Need to know who they are connected to online. Number one underneath this, or I underneath this, know who they follow, or who follows them on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. On all of these, Twitter and Instagram especially, you can have people follow you all the time that you don't know who they are. I actually stepped off of most of my social media a couple of months ago. I annoy too many people. So I stopped for a while because haters going to hate, and I have a big mouth. I can't let it go. I've watched Frozen 1,000 times, and I still can't let it go. So I just stopped for a while. I'm back on Twitter because my mom said so. When your mom has cancer, she tells you what to do, you listen. So I'm back on Twitter. I barely use it. There are people that follow me all the time. I have no idea who they are. Zero clue. Zero. Do you know who is following your kids? Because there's a lot of hugely inappropriate stuff. Get on Instagram for 5 minutes. You set up an account, I guarantee you within 24 hours you're going to be followed by a whole bunch of spam accounts that are massively inappropriate. It doesn't take long. They know how to find you. Typically, it's some Russian site that's trying to sell you something or other, and it's massively inappropriate stuff. Facebook, you're not going to find that quite as often because they've got some stricter guidelines and rules. Still happens on a very regular basis. Know who's following them. Underneath this, know who their friends are. Who are they actually following back? Know who their friends are. People that they're actually connected to, people they might kind of know. Now, the one cool part about social media is the connection with not just friends, but friends of friends. Okay, I've gotten connected with some people that are absolutely amazing. When I stepped off Facebook, I was pushing about 1,700 friends. When I worked at the college, we had a rule that all the college students had to add me as a friend on Facebook. You guys remember that? Obnoxious rule. Because I ended up having people like the Reeds over here, people's parents and grandparents added me as friends. I had one grandmother, no lie, send me a message once a week. How's my little grandson doing? Her grandson was 6'5". Call the kid. I'm not here to tell you how he's doing. I don't care. I don't even like him. So just, there's a ton of people on there. I don't know. I legitimately don't have a clue. Unless the picture is like massively inappropriate or just straight up looks like spam, I usually just hit accept because I don't have a clue. Just, that's me though. My wife's, I don't let that happen. I want her more protected than me. My kids ever get on social media? Definitely not going to happen. We need to know who they're following, who their friends are. Underneath this, have access to their accounts. Oh, you're invading my privacy. If you live in their house, you don't have privacy. Amen. If they pay your bills, they buy the toilet paper you wipe your butt with, you don't have privacy. Got it? Have their passwords. By the way, my mom still has my password to my social media. I'm almost 32. Been married for almost 9 years, got 4 kids. My mama still checks my social media. Told you I practice what I preach here. By the way, she legit stalks my social media. It's so sketchy. I'll just be real honest with you there. Ask my wife, it's bad. She called me at like 10 o'clock at night a couple weeks ago. Hey, why did you post this about so-and-so? What the? Go to bed. Why? Did you see what so-and-so? Mom, stop. Okay. Children, age 12 to 15, estimate that they have not met 1/3 of their social networking friends. 1/3 of them, they don't have a clue who they are. But a lot of times it's people that they're regularly communicating with. Now, that's not necessarily all bad. But it's definitely not good. Just, I'm going to leave that there. 4% of all teens, this is in the United States, by the way, 4%. That sounds like a small number. 4% of teens say they have gone to face-to-face meetings with someone they'd only previously met online. Okay, that sounds like a very small number, 4%. Considering 93 to 94% of them use the internet every day, that number's astronomical. You realize we've got about 110 million teenagers in America today, and if 93 to 94% of them are using the internet, and 4%, we're talking at about 1 million people have met somebody that they'd only previously met online, in person. By the way, if you look at the statistics of that, overwhelmingly, we're talking between 70 and 80% have ended in rape or murder. The end thereof are the ways of death. Amen. Oh, that's Bible. Huh, that's fun. All right, this is a survey from Great Britain. I know that's not us. But they're actually a really cool example for global statistics because they have such a melting pot society and they're literally an island that they can actually read statistics that actually follow pretty much everywhere. A Childline survey comes from Great Britain. This is about a year old now. Estimated that 60% of all kids on the internet, this goes from 5 years old to 17, 60% have been asked for some form or another of a sexual image. 40% have replied. Mom and Dad, do you know who your kids are connected to? Do you know who their friends are? Do you know who they're communicating with? Do you know how easy it is to wipe the messaging on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook? It takes a second. Pay attention. You got to know. Okay? Underneath this, do you know what they are seeing, hearing, or viewing online? Seeing, hearing, viewing. First part is just talking about who they're connected to. This is what they're paying attention to. This includes about everything. By the way, this goes for us moms and dads. Netflix, Hulu, YouTube. YouTube, as of January of last year, started allowing full pornography. YouTube, of all places. That was kind of the one safe-ish place you could go to. There was some stuff in there that you had to worry about a little, but not as much as others. Now YouTube's not even safe, unfortunately. I'm not going to go into detail. Don't go looking for it. If you do, you're already messed up, okay? I just thought I'd put that there. Apps like Instagram and Twitter allow almost complete nudity. In fact, Twitter allows full nudity. Facebook, just underneath this, Facebook has the harshest rules on nudity and adult content. They block almost all of it. If they don't catch all of it, they have some amazing algorithms. The guys that work behind the scenes in Facebook, running some of the algorithms, the actual math that runs the website and trying to scan for some of this content is absolutely astronomical. Some of their math has actually gotten so advanced and so smart, it's now being considered artificial intelligence that is scanning your Facebook. That's how you can go on Amazon and try to look something up on Amazon, and within minutes, you're getting ads in Facebook for that same exact item. Facebook is literally smarter than you and I. And that's not a person doing that. That's an algorithm. That's math that's smarter than you and I. I'm terrible at math, so I know it's smarter than I am, okay? All right? Facebook is okay. Snapchat. Snapchat's kind of the hot button one here. I don't cover this one deep because it's a mess as it is. Snapchat, up until about 3 years ago, in the actual description in the App Store, both on Apple and Android, the App Store actually called it the #1 sexting app in the world. That's what it was designed for, was sending and receiving inappropriate messages. That's what it was designed for. Let me say this as kindly as I can. Mom and Dad, if your kid has Snapchat, you're a moron. Not your kid, you. That's being kind. You're setting your kids up for destruction and failure by allowing them to use something that was literally created for inappropriate use. Smile. Remember jazz hands? Okay. Oh, those are gone. All right, moving on. Okay, let's keep jumping in here. Let me see. I think I just lost my own place. Okay, by the way, Snapchat's also a massive security risk. It gets hacked about 3 times a year on average, and all of those images get released. They claim they don't hold on to them, but at least 6 times in the last 2 years, Snapchat's been hacked and some of those images have been released. So not only are your kids exposing themselves to who knows who, but those have the possibility of being exposed all over the internet. Don't know about you, but I don't think I want the world seeing any part of me or my children anyway like that. Just thought I'd throw that out there. I can tell you this, as far as our Christian school goes, you have a Snapchat, I kick you out of school. No questions asked. It's written in the rule book that way. I don't mess around with it. It just doesn't happen. It's not worth it, okay? Next one here, apps like Text Plus. This is a long list. I'll go kind of slow here. Text Plus. Kik, which is just K-I-K, and WhatsApp. I've used several of these. I currently use WhatsApp on a pretty regular basis. Text Plus, Kik, and WhatsApp have completely unfiltered chat and messaging features. Text Plus, Kik, and WhatsApp. That's literally the word what's, and then A-P-P, app, WhatsApp. Okay, have unfiltered chat and messaging features that are obviously very easily erased. Let me throw this out there. These don't need to be on a smartphone. These can be on an iPad, a Kindle of some type, an iPod Touch. These can be on just about any device. They also run on the internet, just basically in a web browser. And you can communicate with just about anybody. And because they're actually meant to be a completely private messaging service. In fact, WhatsApp, if you have 2 users both using WhatsApp back and forth for texting, it is actually completely encrypted. It actually has encryption that is stronger than most of the banks that you and I bank at for messaging. Which means unless you know their password, you're not seeing anybody that they're communicating with. Just thought I would throw that out there. These things are being used all the time by people like terrorists, child smuggling, child pornography. All drug dealers use WhatsApp like crazy. The shooting that happened in Orlando, what was that, almost a year ago now? That guy was using WhatsApp to communicate back and forth with the terrorist cell that he was connected with, and WhatsApp is refusing to unlock his account for the police because they take their users' security that seriously. The guy was a terrorist. That means, that, Mom and Dad, if you're not paying attention, you're not going to have a clue who they're connected to. And it's an absolute mess. They're phenomenal apps. WhatsApp I use, I have a few friends that are missionaries in a couple countries. I can't text them any other way. I don't have their phone number, and I also don't have texting for countries like Nepal. They don't have texting in Nepal, but they have WhatsApp. So I can communicate with people all over the world. I communicate with a couple missionaries in Thailand, one in Nepal, one in Bulgaria, back and forth using WhatsApp on a fairly regular basis to keep up with people. That's the beautiful part about social media, technology, the internet. You can use it to keep up with people. Otherwise, you might not have connections to. I went to Australia on a missions trip 11 years ago this last January for about 3.5 weeks. Made some amazing friends. Because the way the world worked 11 years ago, texting was just starting to get cool. I'm just old enough to remember texting being cool. My first text plan had 500 texts a month. I blew through that in 4 days. My first bill after I got texting was $784. I was still on mom and dad's plan. That went well. My dad never swears, but he might have thought about it that day. It was, I almost got killed through a phone line. It was bad. This allows some really cool communication with some friends I hadn't been able to talk to prior. There's some amazing stuff you can do with the internet. I wrote this using the internet. I pulled it up on Google Drive, used Google Docs on my phone to update these notes tonight. The internet's awesome. I use it all the time. I'm a teacher. We literally, in class, randomly Google stuff because if you ever get bored, Google Kenny the tiger. Kenny the tiger is a white Siberian tiger. He is the only wild animal in the world known to have Down syndrome. His picture's adorable. It'll brighten your day. The worst day you could ever have, Google Kenny the tiger. Because he looks like a pug of a tiger. His face is all smushed. His tongue always hangs out. It's awesome. The internet's just great. I Google weird stuff. Okay, get over it. It's all good. All right? That's why I know this stuff. Next up, Pandora, Slacker, Spotify. How many of you use any of those for listening to music? Anybody in here use Pandora, anything like that? I love things like that. Amazon Music, Google Play Music, Apple has their own music now. You can listen to just about anything you want. There's some amazingly good stuff on there. There's also some absolutely awful stuff on there. And mom and dad, if you're not paying attention, they can delete a playlist without you knowing about it and re-add it. They can listen to whatever they want, anytime they want. Keep moving here. Advertising. Put an ad blocker on your computer. They're free. There's literally one called Ad Blocker. You add it to Firefox or Chrome. Don't ever use Internet Explorer because Internet Explorer, just don't use it. Add an ad blocker. It'll help get rid of any of those images that Facebook pops up, anything like that. Add that. That's not in the notes, jot that down. Add an ad blocker. I'm trying to keep you up here, okay? All right? 11% of 9 to 16-year-olds have encountered sexual images on the internet within the last month. Nearly 93, 94% of our kids are on the internet every day, and over 10% of them have encountered something inappropriate on the internet in the last month. Literally clicking add to ad blocker helps get rid of about 30% of that, just with a simple installation. Just thought I'd throw that out there. Also, this group uses the internet between 17 and 20 hours a week. A week. That's a lot. Here's a problem with a lot of the internet, with kids especially. They don't know how to be kids anymore. They don't. I had a parent at our school get upset about 3 weeks ago because kids were using sticks as fake guns at recess. She was upset by that. I was so excited that my boys at school still knew how to do that. Isn't that so much better than they sit around in a circle and not talk to each other? You should ride in the van with me. I know what it's like. They're either asleep. Mike usually curls up in his hoodie and doesn't show his face, and the others are all on their phones. It makes for a quiet drive most of the time, until Mike takes the hoodie off, and then it gets real crazy. All right? 47% of parents, I think this should be in your notes, it might not be, might be worth writing down. 47% of parents claim their kids know more about technology than they do. Half of all parents in the U.S. claim that their kids know more about technology and the internet than they do. Part of that's because we grew up with it. I told you I got internet when I was about 8 years old. I am obviously going to probably know more about it than my mom. Our generation, mine in particular, I'm a millennial. We're the ones that are the bad ones right now, apparently, okay? I'm a millennial. We know more about technology than any group before us. Why? Because we grew up with it, okay? The teenagers coming behind us, they're geniuses with this stuff. It's insane. I do Photoshop, photography, all kinds of stuff. I was stitching together a picture. Cincinnati's a gross city. If you're from Cincinnati, I apologize. Your city's nasty. We were in Cincinnati, just outside of Cincinnati yesterday. I stitched together a panorama of pictures that I took of 51 photos, and I stitched them all together in Photoshop. The way I learned how to do that was a YouTube video from a 15-year-old kid. I'm such a loser. He's 15 and had that figured out. I had to Google it. These kids are amazing with this stuff. By the way, it's literally altering how the world works because some of these kids are so advanced at this. There's a guy that just got hired by Google. He's 17 years old. His starting salary is over $1.5 million a year. He officially starts his job at the end of this month because he hasn't graduated high school yet. You know why? He learned how to code when he was 6. They're good at this stuff. That's not a bad thing. It is literally changing the world for the better. One of the pieces of code that he has been working on that Google is so interested in is going to allow for faster remote connections for doctors so that they can actually do robotic surgeries in places where the doctor himself can't get to. They can put a small robot and the doctor can control it with zero lag and run surgeries via robot. A 17-year-old kid helped update the technology on that. That's awesome. Teenagers, if you're good at technology, run with it. Be awesome at it. Make a ton of money and buy me a Ferrari. I like black, not red. It's too showy. Plus, I want the Batman logo on it with the yellow underbelly and a little bit of gray. That's hot. Okay, moving on here. You also need to know where their devices take them. Know where. It's the last one under here, C. Know where their devices take them. Literally, the entire world is at their fingertips. The beautiful part about YouTube is you can watch live videos. Our church service at home is being live streamed on YouTube right now because everybody knows how to use YouTube, except for old people, apparently. If you're old, I apologize, but I have explained how to use YouTube to more old people. How do I get on the YouTubes? Do you have the app? How do I download that? Do you have a smartphone? Oh, no, I don't know how to work those things. Do you have a computer? Oh, no, I don't know how to work that. You can't get on YouTube. You're way too old, apparently, okay? Just come to church and watch it live, okay? Well, do you still sell DVDs? No. People don't use those. We download stuff. If you're old, if I offended you, I'm so sorry. I really don't care, all right? Everything on the internet, I don't know if you know this, this is kind of a staggering statistic. Every single website on the internet is connected within 19 clicks. So you can go to the church website. What is the church website here? hbcjeanette.org. That's long. hbcjeanette.org. You can go there and within 19 clicks be at some of the worst pornographic websites on the internet. 19 clicks. We were researching in a speech class the other day for our next speech. They have to talk about exotic animals and why people should own them. It's kind of a sales pitch speech, very far-fetched. Well, one of our guys chose the Siberian tiger, and next thing I know, he's like, Mr. Bish, I think my computer has a virus. It didn't have a virus. He was trying to buy a Siberian tiger online. I'm just waiting. ICE is probably going to show up at my school. I'm going to get arrested. Everything is available. That was Mike right there, by the way. I'm totally throwing him under the bus because it was awesome. One of the best speech classes we've ever had, just because nobody got anything done after that. It was great. Everything's available within 19 clicks. And by the way, I just thought I'd throw this little statistic out there. The average of what you and I use on the internet, all of Google, Facebook, all that stuff, did you know that makes up between 4 and 5% of the total internet? It is literally the tip of the iceberg. This much. Everything else is what's called the dark web. Don't ever try to get on there. I did once for the sake of being able to get on there. You got to go through a whole bunch of hoops. There's all kinds of security features. It literally anonymizes your entire internet usage by jumping it to at least 17 different servers around the world so that you're completely untraceable. And there is some of the most atrocious stuff you can ever think of available on there. You can buy children on the internet. You can buy children's body parts on the internet. Absolutely, that's 95% of the internet. 95% of what you and I know of as the internet, we don't even see. We think it's awesome. It's super useful. It's got a pretty sketchy underbelly. By the way, kind of like Jeanette. Just thought I'd throw that out there. When I was here, 6th Street was sketchy. Thankfully, it looks like somebody blew it up. I'm sorry if you live on 6th Street. It's a beautiful place. Okay, number 2 under here. I'm almost done, I promise. I'm going as quickly as I can. We need to learn. We need to learn. Now that we know some of what is the problem, we need to learn how to take care of it. Underneath here, A, we need to learn to track their connections. Track their connections. This is where, mom and dad, you become a stalker. Okay? You should be your kid's number 1 stalker. Write that down. You should be your kid's number 1 stalker. I'm serious. If anybody's going to stalk your kids online, it should be you. Because if you're stalking them online, somebody else won't be. Because you'll catch it. If anything, you're just going to protect your kids a little bit better than they were. By the way, young people, and this includes anybody who's single and still living at home and under, be okay with that. They're not trying to be a jerk. They really aren't. They love you. They want what's best for you. That's why they gave you a smartphone in the first place. They legitimately want you to be the best you can be, and them stalking you is their way of helping protect you. I'm sorry to throw it out that way, but it really is true. Okay? Make them, and this being your kids, add you as a friend or follower on social media. Make them add you as a friend or follower on social media. That's a rough one. You get a few teenagers, a few young people, but I need my privacy. Why? Right. If you need your privacy, what are you doing that you don't want mom and dad watching? Right. And that gets back to where I started. If you're going to do what's wrong, you're going to do it whether mom and dad are stalking you or not, because you're messed up. Something's wrong with your heart. Right. You don't care about mom and dad. You do realize by you saying, mom and dad, you don't have any access to what I do online, you're being selfish enough that you don't care about what mom and dad want for you. You're more important than they are. Except they pay for everything. Just shut them off, mom and dad. If they don't want to abide by it, stop paying the bill. That's too mean. So what? They won't die. How many generations of people, how many of you in here grew up with no internet? Oh, and you're not dead. Holy cow. What? It is survivable. Now, it is boring without it. I will admit that entirely. Okay? I every once in a while, especially when we go visit my wife's family, I'll shut my phone off for like 2 days. Now, as an adult, that is a glorious feeling. But then after 2 days, I'm like, oh, you want to, Do you know the average person checks your phone over 150 times a day? You can actually get phantom vibrations. For the napper, you know what phantom pain is like. My dad knows what that is. You miss a limb, the nerves still access, and it's like they're still trying to feel stuff. Dad says his toes get itchy. He doesn't have toes. You can get phantom vibrations where you think your phone's going off and it's not even with you. We are so messed up. Okay, if your phone goes off that often that you ran, oh wait, I didn't bring my phone today, and it's still vibrating. And this coming from a dude, I wear a smartwatch so I don't have to actually look at my phone. I can respond to all my texts on my wrist. The only thing I can't do is Dick Tracy where I can video chat with people. Maybe on the next one. I'm working on it, okay? We're so addicted to this stuff. By the way, me being number 1, I'm the number 1 addict. Do you guys have RU here? Okay, we have RU at our church. You can come visit Connecticut. We'll help you, okay? All right? Know what their passwords are. Need to learn what their passwords are for every site they log into. Social media, email, music. Again, you should be their number 1. Okay, class, I'm working with slow people here, okay. You should be their number 1. Soccer. Much better. This is like first grade. I hate first graders. I have 2 of them in my house, okay? We need to lock down their privacy settings. This is probably, underneath this section, this is probably one of the most important. Lock down their privacy settings. By the way, this is not to be mean to you, teenager, especially teenagers. This is to help you. Okay, there are some super sketchy people in the world. Real bad. Real scary human beings. Lock down the privacy settings. Instagram, don't let them befriend complete strangers. Don't let them befriend complete strangers. If you don't know who they are and they can't explain who they are, hit the block button. Amen. Like I said, the only social media I'm currently on is Twitter. I love the block button. It is seriously one of my favorite things. I posted something a couple of weeks ago, and some dude who just trolls preachers got on there. And no lie, within about 3 minutes after posting, he'd written like 15 tweets back to me. Block. It was that simple. Oh. I have, my Facebook, before I got off there, I have like 45 people blocked. I love that. Not that I hate those people. They just annoy the garbage out of me. Seriously, why do you need that negativity in your life? You really don't. Just block them. It's really great. It's amazing. There was one particular guy, I'm not going to name him because he's a butt. Okay, I blocked him from everything. I've blocked his phone number permanently on my phone. I've through the phone provider, I've permanently blocked him. All my social media, all my email, because he's so obnoxious. I had a social media account I logged into once because all my friends were using it. He got on there and started sending me junk. I blocked him on that. I hadn't used it in 3 years. I had to recover my password 3 times because I couldn't remember what it was. I had to block him on that, and I don't even use it. It was Google+. Nobody uses that anymore. That was cool for like literally a week, okay? And people are dumb. Block them, okay? Move on here. Use restrictions. Use restrictions. If you are an iPhone user, iPhone actually, this is one thing that they legitimately do better than Android, is the restriction setting. You set a password on that, and you can lock them out of specific stuff. You can lock them out of specific aged websites, and it's actually a fairly decent filter. You can block them from installing apps of a certain level, all kinds of little restrictions here and there, and you don't have to go crazy with it and just block them from everything where all they can do is use the calculator and call you, okay? If you want to do that, go for it, or just don't give them a phone. Okay, if you're going that crazy, literally give them a calculator and a flip phone, which, by the way, I don't know if you know this, every flip phone has access to the internet. All of them. It's required by law. They all have access to the internet because the United Nations said that internet usage is now considered a basic human right, like food, water, and shelter. Thank God for the UN and their idiocy, all right? Okay, so add restrictions or a filtered browser. A filtered browser. If you're using Android, you're probably better off with a filtered browser. There are a whole bunch. One of these that I use for computers is Canine Web Protection. I think that is on there. If it's not, write that down. Canine Web Protection is fantastic for computers, awful for devices. They don't update it about once every 2 years, and it'll freeze up your device. And I think you guys had to live through that at the college, didn't you? I'm sorry. I was just doing my job and trying to be your mom while I was there, okay? So if you actually care about your kids, take care of it. Kids, if you actually care about your parents and your own future, let them take care of it. Okay, again, if you're an Apple user, it's very easy. If you're an Android user, it's a little more difficult, but it's not terrible. Okay, underneath this, set up tracking features from your cell phone provider. This is where getting into a stalker costs you a couple bucks. Okay, doesn't matter what provider. Verizon, AT&T, Sprint, T-Mobile, the big four all have this. Some of the smaller ones do not. Metro PCS. I think Boost Mobile and a few others offer some of these features where between $5 and $10 a month, you can actually track all the usage that your kid does on their phone. Everything. You can read every text message that they send. You can see the list of all their phone calls pops up on an app on your phone. You can also turn the GPS on and off on their phone. I don't know if you know this, even basic phones since 1997 are required by law to have GPS in, and the only way that it turns off is if the battery pulls out. Well, if you have some of these more modern phones like mine, battery doesn't come out. Or if you have an iPhone, the battery doesn't come out. It means GPS can be turned on at any time. You add these features, you can turn that on and find them within 3 feet at all times. And they can't turn that off. Stalk your kids. You want to know what they're doing? You want to help protect them? There's ways to do that. And to me, $5 to $10 a month is worth it. Is $120 a year worth protecting your kids? Oh, yeah. If you're already willing to pay for the phone, the service, the internet, another $120 a year is totally worth making sure your kids are okay. By the way, if they're also excessive data users, you can shut off their data when you want to. That'll save your bill a few bucks. Just thought I'd throw that in there, okay? All right. Let's see here. Learn, this is the last one underneath this, learn why some apps and not others. Okay, don't just, I hate to say this, that because I said so, that is such a garbage excuse. It didn't work when you were a teenager. It doesn't work now. Because I said so doesn't work. Know why. Do some homework. Google it. Do you all know how to use Google? My daughters, they're in first grade. They actually know what a Google is. Does anybody know that? Did you know that Google is an actual thing? It's Googol. A Google is the largest theoretical number. It is 10 to the 100th power. You can actually get a Googleplex, which is a Google of Google. Google to the power of Google. There's actually an open source project right now trying to count to the number Google. It's 290 pages long. They're only in the hundreds of billions. They estimate that it's going to take them at least 16 years to count this by hand because these people are literally typing in the numbers to get there. There's over 500 people currently volunteering. Why are, number one, they wasting that much time? And number two, who cares? Who's going to read it? Who's going to scroll through and, wow, that's a lot of zeros. Like, who has the time to do that? Like, on YouTube, there's a video where they took the SpongeBob laugh. I swear they're going to play that on repeat in hell. That sound. I can't even do it. They put that on a 10-hour video loop. It has like 50 million views. Who watched that? Like, who? Rachel Womack probably did. Okay? She's not in here, so I can throw her under the bus on that one. But yeah, Sam's like, yeah, you did? Okay, all right. Hi, buddy. How you doing? All right, good. Okay, so know why some apps and not others. Read about the new app or network before you give the go-ahead. Hey, I want to install this app. If you've worked out the relationship, mom and dad, teenager, where you actually communicate, all of this deals with communication. If the communication's not happening at home, the communication with other people is going to get sketchy real fast. If you're back and forth, hey, I want to install this app. Can I Google it? Right then and there. Well, let's look it up. A couple of websites to look up. If these aren't written down, write them down. Google. Find out about it. CNET. That's C-N-E-T. CNET. They are a technology review site. I literally read this website every day. I am so addicted to technology. I read about it. I watch videos about it. I actually had a dream about it last night. Seriously, it was weird. I'm not going to tell you. It was like creepy weird, okay? CNET. Another one is Engadget. E-N-G-A-D-G-E-T. Engadget. Or Ask a Nerd. Okay? If you don't know about it, ask somebody. Okay? It's worth the time taking the extra couple seconds, the extra couple minutes, and do a little homework on it. Find out what it's about. Most of them are pretty inane. Most of the stuff you're going to find is relatively clean. Most of the stuff you're going to find is not going to be a problem, but it's worth checking, correct? Worth that extra couple of seconds there. And the last section here, and one of the last sections we're going to cover as quickly as possible. We need to watch. We need to watch. We need to watch, number one, under here, how much screen time. This includes TV or phone that we allow. Screen time. How much screen time? Not necessarily for their health or for their mental capacity. Your average child and teenager actually has a higher IQ overall than their parents did based on the sheer amount of technology that they are using. Kids can multitask at a level that is almost unimaginable because of the ability. My Molly does this. She's about 3. She'll sit there with her Kindle in her lap playing a game and watching a YouTube video, and she can tell you what's going on in both. She can win the game and watch the YouTube. I can't do that well. My wife definitely can't do that. Multitasking is not her. She's an awesome human. Hi. Okay. Is it bedtime already? Oh, okay. All right, just checking. So, a couple things you can do. If you've got younger children, the one I would suggest, and I'm not a salesman here, is Amazon Kindle Fire tablets. Number one, they're cheap. Number two, they're built like a tank. They legitimately, to test them, they stick them in a dryer with no heat on it to see how long it'll withstand in a dryer before it breaks. It's over 10 hours. It'll handle your kid, okay? But they have an app built into there called Free Time. It's about $2.99 a month for a single user. You can lock them down to age-appropriate stuff. We've been using it for what, was it about 4 years now? We've been using it. I've never ran into a problem with my kids yet. They even have a web browser built in that you can lock down the age appropriateness of the websites that they go on. You can even limit how many apps. You can limit how long they use the device each day. There's books, games, and videos. On ours, the girls have to read 30 minutes of books before they can watch videos or play games. And they're locked down to 1 hour of games, 1 hour of videos per day, and then they can read books for the rest of the day as long as they want. And it's been phenomenal. Molly learned how to trace out her letters. She knows most of her alphabet through an app on a Kindle. That's pretty amazing. My Callie learned how to spell her name at 3 through an app. There are ways to help this stuff. Use this to teach your kids. Like I said, this is literally the next generation. They're going to take technology and literally change the world with it. Why don't we help them with that? Okay, but we've got to watch. Number 2 under here, or B, we need to watch who they're communicating with. We need to watch who they're communicating with. This is a repeat from before. Watch who they're communicating with. Okay, I have friends from all over the world on social media. I know almost all my friends currently on Twitter. Facebook, not so much. Twitter and Instagram, I know quite a few more of them. My wife made a random acquaintance type of idea on Instagram with a lady from Australia. They happened to just come across each other using a hashtag. And was it 2 years now or 3 years that they've been communicating back and forth? The lady went through cancer. Carla was sending her excerpts from my dad's book. We've been able to witness to this lady who literally lives on the other side of the world through technology. That's amazing. But do you know who your kids are talking to from the same town? Pay attention. We need to watch who they're communicating with. The last one here, and this is again a repeat, we need to watch their privacy settings. We need to watch their privacy settings. Now, personally, I have a rule. All my social media, when I was using it, was all completely open to the public. You can lock down privacy settings, especially Facebook. They actually give you a whole series of levels. Part of the reason I did that, Facebook's got 1.3 billion daily users. Anybody that's been on Facebook can tell you I haven't done anything inappropriate. Have I been an idiot? Yes. Have I done anything testimony ruining inappropriate? No. My wife, my future kids, when they get old enough to use this stuff, I'm going to lock them down to everything. Because I don't want her to get messed with by some creep. I love her too much. Right. And that's my wife. I'm going to do more so with my kids. I brought them into this world. It's my job to protect them while they're here. Okay? I'm almost done. Ways to help. Canine web protection. I think I already told you that one, canine web protection. It is free for personal use. Part of the reason I suggest it is free for personal use. And the nice part is it gives you all kinds of series of levels for protection. You can lock down specific sites if you want. You can lock down specific times of the day. And you have a backup password. Say you lock it down where the internet basically shuts itself off at 9 o'clock at night. Well, Mom, Dad, you need to get on. You just type in your password and you can let yourself back in. Okay? There's all kinds of nice stuff. By the way, there's also a very fun security feature. If you try to bypass the administrator password, it shuts off your internet card on your computer. I had a few morons at the college that tried to delete, it's called a DLL file, and get through that, and it shut off their Wi-Fi card. Well, I was the administrator on the account, and I got a notification, so-and-so tried to deactivate K9. And they'd come to me, hey, the internet's not working on my computer. I think something's broken. Yeah, you're an idiot. That's what's broken, okay? They got in trouble because I caught them before they'd actually admitted anything. Okay, it's awesome, all right? You can block certain sites and times of the day, and it all allows you to block as much or as little as you want. Mom and Dad, you can even set profiles on there specifically for you where it just blocks, say, adult content. Or you can get as specific as blocking specific types of gambling websites. I didn't know that needed to be its own category. But like under gambling, they actually have blackjack or poker sites and then lotto sites. They had separate categories. I'm like, wouldn't you just block all of them? So like, I have the addiction with this one, but I don't want that one because that one's bad. I don't really understand that one, but all right. Okay, a couple other ones here. These are kind of interesting. Kids in mind. If you write this one down, kids in mind, this should be under B. There should be a relatively long blank there. Kids in mind, plugged in. Both of these are movie and television review sites. where you can actually look up and find out what's in a movie, why it's rated what it's rated. You look up a lot of movies, they'll say like PG-13, rated for, violence, and that's all they give you. These couple sites, and the last one there is IMDb, which has an app. I use it all the time specifically for this. They'll give you a parent's guide in there, tells you exactly why it's rated what it's rated. Now, I will tell you, if you're one of those you can't have spoilers type of people, looking this stuff up and paying attention to what you watch gives you a whole boatload of spoilers. Kind of ruins a movie for you occasionally, but kind of worth it. I will set no wicked thing before mine eyes. This helps you with that. IMDb is the only one in here that is not necessarily Christian-based. It's actually an Amazon-owned company. They are the oldest and the largest. That's why I put this on here. They have the biggest selection of movies and TV shows, including a whole bunch of foreign stuff that you might not have access to from some of the others. Plugged In is actually run by Focus on the Family. It's the only thing from Focus on the Family I would probably ever publicly plug, okay? But it has some decent stuff in there. The only reason, again, IMDb is on here because it's got a bigger selection. Some of the others don't get updated as often, but IMDb, you can almost find everything you want. The last blank here is Netflix. Netflix allows you to create user profiles that allow you to block certain types of programming and put stuff that's age appropriate. We have a Netflix profile named Twins that is made for kids 12 and under. And for the most part, we have not had anything terribly bad to worry about there. When the girls get on Netflix, they always go to the one marked Twins. And there's a few things here, and there's some music, some other stuff. Okay, I don't like that one. But for the most part, it's pretty decent. They have some good algorithms, some good stuff to lock that down. One more thing here. 2 Timothy 2:15 says, "Study to show thyself approved unto God, a workman that needeth not to be ashamed." Now, if you read through this passage, Paul's telling Timothy as a preacher, but this verse applies to about every portion of life. Study to show thyself approved. Do your homework. Mom, dad, teenager, you want to do something with your life? Do some homework. Not just in school, but how to protect yourself. How to be smart about some of this stuff. Told you to go to Ephesians chapter 6 and we'll be done. Ephesians chapter 6, we're going to look at just 4 verses and we're done. Ephesians chapter 6. Promise I'm almost done. Ephesians chapter 6, go to verse 1. This is kind of where this whole thing boils down. Ephesians chapter 6, verse 1. Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Probably every kid in here's least favorite verse. Guarantee you. Actually, after my dad's favorite verse, my son is a lunatic, I sincerely think that's the only verse my dad knows by heart in the entire Bible. He quotes it way too often. Children, obey your parents in the Lord. Honor thy father and mother, which is the first commandment with promise. And then he goes on to explain that promise, that it may be well with thee, and thou mayest live long on the earth. Kids, this is not to be mean to you. Teenagers, this is not to restrict you, to pull away your rights. You live at home. You don't have rights. Okay? You're basically subhuman. Okay? Not being a jerk. But obey. Mom and Dad, verse 4 though. And ye fathers, provoke not your children to wrath, but bring them up in the nurture and admonition of the Lord. Don't take what I gave you tonight and be a punk about it, Mom and Dad. We're going to do this. We're going to do it just like this. You listen to me. They're not going to follow verse 1 if you don't follow verse 4. It's a two-way street here. Every time my mom and I butt heads, my mom and I have a special relationship. I'm probably closer with mom than I am dad, just to be honest with you. Okay? It's just you kind of get that connection there with one parent or the other. You probably can all admit that. Mine's with mom. Mom, when she and I would butt heads, sparks flew. It was bad. Verbally, we would just, it was crazy. Our inner Hulk came out, and it was just terrible stuff. When she got all angry with me, I listened to her less. Nurture doesn't mean yelling. Right. There's a time and a place for that. But you want to do any of this right, and I'm not the end-all, be-all on this information, but you want to do any of this right and protect your kids, go with the right attitude, Mom and Dad. Teenager, be willing to listen. That goes for young person, teenager, kid. Be willing to listen. Do the obedience part. Mom and Dad, you got to do the nurturing part. Because this is of utmost importance. I know there's not been a lot of Bible, and I apologize for that. Trying to be practical, trying to be helpful. I know I've been very long and probably boring, and I'm very sorry for that. But I'm serious. This is massively important. I practice most of this stuff on myself nearly daily because I need to make sure that I'm protected. And I'm nothing special. I'm a nearly 32-year-old grown man, and I still let my mom check my social media because I want to make sure I'm doing what's right. If I'm willing to do that, is it really that hard for you to do that? Just think about it. By the way, those of you that are adults, you don't trust yourself, find somebody you do. Get them to check up on you. Accountability is pretty amazing. Somebody looking over your shoulder.